Before we tackle the issues with Grover, we're gonna go ahead and talk about Jenos. Now, lower elo thinks that this support is useless, maybe because they play Ceres and Ceres keeps their players alive, because no one on the enemy team is buying Cauterize. It's low elo, that's what people call it. Now, no, Jenos is not used for his healing mainly, and yes, he can get up to 200k healing in ranked games. He's good. His healing spreads on 3 targets at all times. Now, maybe that's not gonna be true now that we need more points on other cards, but we're just gonna explain one thing. You've probably gone against or with a Jenos that plays Luminary and plays a loadout called the Power Cosmium. What's wrong with this loadout? Well, first off, the range card where he can heal people is practically useless. It's at one point. He might as well just not run it. And this card does not exist. So this card says your cooldown is now 5 seconds because you're running it at 5 points and that removes 2 seconds. On here, your cooldown to heal for that low heal is 7 seconds. Furthermore, you don't have this card to increase the amount of time that you can keep that ally marked, which is kind of sad. And you only had this card at 1. Now, this default loadout really is bad, and I've explained that before in an older video. But now, let's go ahead and look at the other default loadout, which is Binary Star. Yes, it has this card, but at 4, which is practically bad, always bad. You always want this at 5, and it has no range and no extending the time a mark stays on an ally. Plus, it has no self-sustain at 1, which you kind of need as Jenos. This is kind of expecting you to either heal out of combat or to have a second healer. Which kind of might be true since you're playing Binary Star. You must have someone else on your team. Well, Binary Star is really bad. It's the worst one of the 3 talents anyways on Jenos. So, what exactly are we talking about here? Default loadouts dismiss the fact that a champion is always defined by 1 or 2 or even 3 cards. Jenos always runs this card at 5, and this card at 3, and this card at 5 if he wants to heal. The other 2 cards are up to you. They're gonna be 1 point here and 1 point here, or any card other than this. There are other good cards. Maybe on Binary Star you'd be running something like this. You do not have the healing at 5, which is contrary to what I was saying, but this is solely because you're now playing a damaged champion and not playing a support. Your heal will be healing you, not your allies. So yes, you're only gonna be marking 1, or maybe by some miracle 2, but you have a lot of self-sustain. Do not run Binary Star Jenos. He does not work. He's bad. Especially if you're alone. 1 support does not work with Binary Star whatsoever. And the Power Cosmium, this is the loadout for it. You need to have Retrograde at 5, and this card, you don't have the budget for it at any longer, but you're gonna be closer in this playstyle. Now, let's go ahead and get back to our main topic, which is playing Grover, and what's wrong with his default loadouts, and why they have so many errors in them. So, Rampant Blooming on the right is the only talent that says you heal for more. So people will say this is the healing talent, and this is bad. You do not play this talent on Grover. The reason is every 1 second you're healing for 100. Cauterize 3 makes that just 25 per second, which is nothing really. So you do not play this. You play the talent that gives you value, which is your right mouse button or your first ability will cripple people and spread to others around them. This is what you run. And not only because it spreads the cripple, but it also roots, so enemies cannot move for that second that they're hit by this. So let's go ahead and go back to our main topic, the default loadouts on the healing talent. Now, I've recently played a ranked game where I've had Grover playing the support, and he was solo support, and he was playing Rampant Blooming on the default loadout. And he did not heal anyone and was dying all the time because he was always getting flanked, even though our team was trying to stay near him to get heals, and yet he was not healing anyone. So maybe that was just one case, but let's explain why this this loadout, sorry, is really bad. Now, I'm gonna show you one card that's not here, and it's this one, Verdant Expanse. Now, if you're not familiar with Grover, he heals in a circle around him, which is 80 units wide. Now, I'm gonna need to show you how large that is, and you can't see it if you are playing Grover, so let's go ahead and go there. Okay, so between here and here is 50 units, and this is 60, 70, 80. So basically I can heal someone standing on that pedestal right here on the default Grover. That might seem long enough to warrant not running the extended range card, but the range card will actually add 10 and a bit, 16 units actually, at max. So you're actually gambling on whether or not your team is going to be hugging you all the time, or that you can actually heal them through walls or not at this distance. Now, yes, Grover heals through walls. Let me show you that right now. Okay, so even the ult, by the way, the ult activates through walls. You can heal people on maps like Stonekeep by ulting from within or outside the walls, as long as you're hugging the walls. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our default loadout, which is bad. One, it does not have the range card. Your team has to be so close to you, and you cannot heal someone in another lane. So you can't be on the right or the left and heal the tank in the mid lane. Now, the second bad thing about Grover's default loadout is this card, Perennial. Reduce the cooldown of your healing by 2 seconds. Now, hold on. I just said that Jenos needs his cooldown reduction so that it's not 7, it's 5. Now Grover's base cooldown is 10 seconds, this makes it 8, so why is this one bad while Jenos is good? Well, simple, let's go ahead and equip this and edit the loadout and show you a different card with the same effect. I'm just gonna remove points randomly, I'm not making a good loadout right now, and let's talk about these two. So this one 2 seconds, this one 3 seconds, 5 points, 5 points. So this one has a condition on it, so if you miss using your first ability, the crippling throw, you don't get any benefit. So if you might just argue, if you have bad aim and can't hit this, then you just run this. No, that's not true, because Fatalis, as of this patch right now, which is gonna last 3 months, is going to activate if you hit a shield or a deployable, something like a turret from Barrack or perhaps a clone from Ying. This will activate on that. Even Luna, which is Io's Fox, will activate this card. So there are easy targets that are stationary and cannot move, and you can hit them to activate this card. So reason number one, higher value for the same amount of points. Now then, there is another reason, and it's related to math. I'm gonna need to remove this card in order to be able to explain it, because we're gonna talk about Chronos. Now, our Blossom says its cooldown is 10 seconds. And yes, it shows up as 10 seconds on our abilities. If we go ahead and buy Chronos, it reduces the cooldown by 10%, and 10% of our cooldown, which is 10 seconds, is 1 second per tier. 20% removes 2 seconds, and Tier 3 will remove 3 seconds. So it's gonna say 7 when we heal. And there it is. So basically, if I heal someone and use the crippling throw, I just removed 3 more seconds. Okay, thank you, Fernando. So this is how you should be looking at cooldowns on both cards. Now, one of them is a flat cooldown. Let me show you that right now. Verdant, not Verdant Expanse, Perennial is a flat cooldown. This is a non-flat cooldown. It does not reduce your cooldown at all times. Let's go ahead and remove this for now. I'm just gonna put a random card here. And our cooldown is no longer gonna be 10 seconds. It's gonna be 8. Okay, so why is flat cooldown bad when you can have non-flat cooldown? Now, I'm gonna need to remove Chronos 3, which I have right now. It's shown on the bottom right side of the screen. I'm just gonna use this, just change the champion, go back again. It doesn't matter really. So we're gonna go back into this, and notice that I don't have Chronos anymore. So our cooldown, now that we're running Perennial instead, is 8 seconds. And yes, it does show up as 8. So if we buy Chronos, it's not gonna remove 1 second anymore. 10% of 8 is 0.8 seconds. 20% of that is 1.6 seconds. And 30% of that is 2.4 seconds. So your cooldown will be less. It will be 8 minus 2.4, which is gonna be 5.6 seconds long. Let's go ahead and demonstrate that right now. It's a little bit more than that. Okay, so let's go ahead and check why flat cooldown is worse. Now, I do not have the card Fatalis on this loadout, so all I'm getting is 6 seconds. If I go back and swap the loadout to something that does have Fatalis, this runs it at 4. Let's go ahead and just edit the loadout instead. Okay, because we're gonna need the same numbers to demonstrate point. So my cooldown right now is just 10 seconds again, like before. This is 7, and now we got it down to by actually 6 seconds, not 4.6. We removed a full 6 seconds off of it. This is why you always run non-flat cooldowns. Now you might argue, why not just waste our points on both, and then maybe we'll get around 1 second per heal, but that just does not fit this champion. Grover cannot do that. He does not have the budget for it. So I'm gonna switch to a loadout that I prefer to play with, and I'm gonna explain why. This running it at 4 is kind of still better than Perennial. It's just 2.4, but it's not really recommended that you run it at that much. Why I can get away with this is I have this card. What if I can reduce the cooldown of my healing by using this ability, which is Crippling Throw, and then reduce the cooldown of Crippling Throw, which is using this card. So this is a flat cooldown reduction, but I do not have an alternative. This is the only way to reduce that cooldown. So I have Chronos 3 right now, remember? And I'm gonna buy Chronos for Blossom, not for Crippling Throw. So the cooldown right now has been affected by the card I'm running, but also is gonna be affected by Chronos. So let's go ahead and see how long it is really. 4 seconds or a little bit more. So what I can do right now is heal someone, and then let's get some bots, hit them, and then I can heal someone again, and then and this is how you play Grover. You have to be rotating those cooldowns together. So This loadout works just because you can reduce both cooldowns by buying Chronos and by using those cards. Now, the other cards that I'm running, this card stops snipers from killing you with just 2 shots. This card is debated to be useless under 3 points or 4 points sometimes, but it's up to you whether or not you wanna play it or not. I just like it at that much because a sniper cannot kill me in 2 shots. He'll need 3. And I like this card because anyone that I'm healing with Blossom is gonna be faster for 4 seconds. Now this isn't much, but it does make a difference. But it's just a filler card. A filler card is something you run at one point. And this is why Grover's default loadout on Rampant Blooming is bad. Now, I'm not gonna make this video longer, but I'm just gonna go ahead and show you a controversy. Ferocity, the damage talent. This makes Grover a sniper. You have to be standing very far to deal 1000 damage. It's actually 1020 damage, actually. So, this is good if you can stay back, far away, but it removes you as a main support because your team is gonna be up ahead. Now, it's still good at mid-range, but you usually want to be going with deep roots. It just adds way too much value to miss out on. You want to run this talent and this talent only on Grover. So, Ferocity asks you to be a sniper. And check this card, the one we were talking about. So, just because you're gonna be standing back, you need more range? No. Even if you're a main healer, you need it here. And this is a controversy. Now, keep in mind that all default loadouts are bad. There are some exceptions, but please, if you want to pick up a new champion, look up an online guide. Even if it's ancient, most things don't change in Paladins. Now, if you really want to get a new loadout or look up a new guide, I would suggest going to Reddit, not searching Google, not going on sites like Paladins Guru. It's got old guides. Maybe check the date on the guide. You can do that. And maybe go ahead and join the official games Discord, the one ran by Hyres and Evil Mojo, or join the official Reddit Discord server and ask for loadouts and ideas on how to play that champion there. Thanks for watching and enjoy your game.